writer who focuses on Latin America for Global Voices Online. Robert, thanks for being in tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
So let's first talk about the protests we're seeing now after we learn more about the details of these murders. Why are we seeing so much anger over this crime?
Well, this is a product of frustration for many Mexicans in the way that the government has been handling this untamed situation of violence, in particular in states like Guerrero and other states in the northern part of Mexico. I think is the anger, the frustration, the fact that the government, at least the municipal government, at the helm of the mayor of Iguala was, where they were colluding with these criminal forces. So this is why people are so angry now.
Because it really is hitting a nerve without question, because these are they're supposed to be trusted figures, trusted authorities that ended up turning on protesters. Why would the mayor and his wife allegedly want these people killed?
Well, here's the story. I mean, I think you mentioned something really interesting, is the emotional component that this has. These were students. And they were rural students. I mean, they're not well-off students by no means. So the backdrop of the story is that the students went to protest the fact that the mayor was going to cut some funds for the indigenous people, even for them, for educational purposes. So. And I think this was on the 26th of September, when they were going to protest. They were going to lead some rallies during an event that the wife was organizing. This is the mayor's wife.
The concern was they were going to interrupt the wife's speech. I mean, does it come down to that, basically? The mayor was afraid that the protesters would embarrass his wife?
Correct. I mean, and I think what they did, what the mayor did was just to send public safety to contain what they were supposed to do. I mean, they thought that they were going to sabotage the event, and that's when we see the crossfire where at least 3 students died in that moment of that reaction between the public safety and the gangs called Guerreros Unidos. And then what we saw was that the students went back to the buses, and then the police chased them down.
And then eventually handed them over to the gang members who allegedly killed them all.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the anger that is coming from this now that Mexican people are learning more and more about what happened. How far do you expect the anger and the protest to go? How troubling could this be for the Mexican president?
Well, here's, and I hope I could be wrong in my assessment, but this is what could happen. What we've seen is a rise of paramilitarism in Mexico. We've seen that in what we call the area of Tierra Caliente. What I mean by paramilitarism is that peasants, people who have, the means to arm themselves, they can take justice in their own hands. The fact that the government, in this case, the mayors, they had, connections with the cartels means, and even the police, I mean, the fact that we saw that the police handed these students over to the cartels means that people cannot trust the government anymore. So what could happen is a rise in paramilitarism. This could be a legitimate way for them to arm themselves and be like, well, you can't protect us. We feel threatened. We're going to have to take actions in our own hands.
But it could also turn against the government and turn into an uprising.
Absolutely. I disagree completely with the fact of, with paramilitarism, seeing the consequences that I've seen in Colombia, for example, where you see self-defense forces, using justice as an excuse to kill a bunch of people. Unfortunately, that's what could happen.
That's what you're afraid may play out if this continues.
I'm very afraid that could happen.
Okay, Robert Valencia with Global Voices. Thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you so much.